police sharing new details about a chase that led to a suspect being shot and killed by police over in East Price Hill.
The mayor and Cincinnati's police chief sharing body camera video of the incident.
This all unfolded very, very quickly. We're talking about 6 seconds from the time that officer got out of his vehicle until he shot and killed that armed suspect.
Give you an update on an incident that you're aware of, I'm sure, happened earlier this afternoon, approximately 1 p.m. We had an auto accident at Martin Luther King, Burnett Woods Drive, where a Hamilton County deputy was struck. He was outside his vehicle conducting traffic enforcement. He was struck by a vehicle. It saddens me tremendously to make you aware that he has since passed.
All right, fam, I'm gonna need you to try your best to hold your opinion to the end. This a lot, and I'm gonna say this out the gate. None of us can't truly fathom losing our child until it happened. Now, the situation we talk about today is less than 24 hours old. Today, we're going to Cincinnati. We're talking about a man, a dad, who decided to take matters in his own hands. Less than 24 hours before his situation, his son was gunned down by authorities, which we'll later check out and play body cam footage. This dad decided to take matters in his own hands and took the life of a police officer.
Wanted that get back, I see. Okay. I'm seeing what's going on here. Was it justified though?
Officer the next day. Today we go over this story, go over the details, see what truly happened, pay our respects, and see where we stand today. But before we go over this one, I want you guys to remember, I don't give you no anger. I just give you the story. So with that being said, make sure you like, comment,
good place
and
to be.
subscribe. We're going to jump right to it. A Hamilton County Sheriff's deputy has died after being hit by a car driven by the father of a man who was killed by Cincinnati police the day before. Cincinnati police chief said during a news conference that the sheriff's deputy, whose identity was not released, was hit by a car being driven by the father of an 18-year-old Ryan Hinton. The crash happened around 1 p.m. May 2nd, 2025.
Yo,
the crash
wait. We're not going to slide by that. Yo, he's standing head high, 10 toes down, looking niggas in their eye. Yeah. Whatever y'all want to do, I meant it. I'm standing on that. I ain't gonna lie, depending on what the son did. Because, you know, it's easy for me to pick sides right now. Black man, so it was a black kid that got gunned down. Cops, all I'm seeing is a lot of Caucasian. It's easy for me to pick sides right now. But what was the situation, though? You know? Because depending on it, I really might be on some free my guy. You know what I'm saying?
Happened around 1 p.m. May 2nd, 2025. The crash come a day after police fatally shot Hinton in East Prince Hill during a car theft investigation. Here's the facts. You see, the crash occurred around 1 p.m., just a few hours before the beginning of graduation ceremonies for the University of Cincinnati. It happened near the corner of Martin Luther King Drive in the CUF neighborhood, north of University of Cincinnati's campus. The deputy was outside of his vehicle, operating at a traffic light, when a car driven by Hinton's father, Ronnie Hinton Jr., entered the intersection and struck them. The deputy and Hinton's father were transported to the hospital in critical condition. The deputy later died. May he rest in peace, and love and condolences to his family. Traffic on Martin Luther King Drive was closed for several hours after the crash. The road reopened shortly after 6 p.m. Now, though the deputy name has not been identified, authorities say he recently retired from Hamilton County Sheriff's Office and was working a special detail by directing traffic for the graduation. Quoting, "The officer was just out doing his job." End quote. 38-year-old Rodney Hinton Jr. was arrested and charged with aggravated murder. So now we got that squared away. Let's go back 24 hours. On May 1st, 2025, the day before the fatal
This just happened. Oh my gosh.
crash, Cincinnati police went to an apartment complex in East Prince Hill after learning a stolen vehicle was found there. 4 suspects, who police believe stole the car, took off running into the woods, some in different directions. One officer chased 18-year-old Ryan Hinton, who was seen holding a firearm, allegedly.
Allegedly, okay. I thought it was fact.
The officer called out twice that Hinton had a firearm, but the suspect tripped but continued to run between 2 dumpsters with the firearm in his hand before he encountered
Allegedly? Or did we get the firearm? Do we see it now?
another officer. The other officer was pursuing someone else when the armed suspect emerged from between the dumpsters. The body cam footage, which you'll later check out, showed the officer fire 4 to 5 rounds at the suspect as he ran into the officer's direction. But here's the huge concern here. The officer said in an interview that the suspect pointed a firearm at him, but that allegation can't be confirmed because the body cam footage was blurred as he was running. But check it out.
Yesterday morning, following a report of a stolen vehicle, Cincinnati police officers were involved in a shooting in East Price Hill that resulted in the death of one man. I'm here with Police Chief Teresa Thigi, Councilmember Scotty Johnson, City Solicitor Emily Smart-Warner, and Assistant City Manager John Brzezina. We as a city take the loss of life extremely seriously in every circumstance. It is always a tragedy, and it's a tragedy here today. And the processes we have in place because of the collaborative agreement are here to ensure transparency and clarity as we move forward. At the top, I want to thank our police department and all the first responders for their work to keep surrounding residents safe during this incident and during the ensuing search for the remaining suspects. As with every officer-involved shooting, there will be an investigation into this incident with the Citizens Complaint Authority and CPD running parallel investigations. As always, we are committed to a thorough process in accordance with the collaborative, and I am confident that the CCA, our police department, and our city administration will direct these investigations with transparency and clarity. Thankfully, all the responding officers were unharmed. Thank you, and I will now invite Teresa Thigi to speak.
Good morning, everybody.
Let me see
Thanks
that
for joining
body
us
cam
today.
footage, man.
Before
need
I
to see
start
that body
with the
cam
presentation
footage.
itself, I want to say, when an incident like this one that happened yesterday occurs, the impact is felt long after the moment itself. The emotional toll doesn't end quickly. It lingers with the families, the officers, and the community for an extended period of time. Officers across the country confront dangerous situations every day, sometimes more than once a day. They are often compelled to make split-second decisions to protect others and themselves when faced with immediate threats. Yesterday was one of those occurrences. Let me be very direct. We cannot allow individuals to flee from officers with a loaded firearm aimed at them. When this happens, the outcome is almost always tragic. No one wins, and everyone involved is affected.
Flee from? So he was running away? That can't be right, because in some states, a nigga could break into your home, let rounds off in your home, but if he runs away and you go and get your heat and you start trying to defend yourself, but he runs away and his back is turned and you still like, nah, fuck that. In GTA, of course. Let it off in his back, pause. You still go to jail for that. So that can't be right. That can't be right. Cop or no cop. If somebody's running away, because that's the word she chose. She said flee. Flee means to run away from, right? Now it's different. I could see running towards with that heat, but fleeing, that don't sound right.
As I review the sequence of events from yesterday, you'll see exactly how rapidly these things evolved, and it will permanently alter the lives of everyone involved. Mom. So to give you an idea, this is 2500 Warsaw. I'm going to step out in front for a minute. Warsaw Avenue is down here. This is the long driveway. It goes up a hill. Where the incident occurred is at the dead end of the parking lot back here. You'll see vehicles there now. You'll see a photo. The stolen car that we're going to talk about was backed into a parking spot back there.
Did they actually steal that shit though? Was that confirmed?
As you can see, this is a stolen Kia. It was stolen out of northern Kentucky yesterday.
Okay.
You can see we have two uniformed cars there. Prior to those uniform cars arriving, we had 2 undercover cars that pulled into that dead end, saw the vehicle. They backed out. They saw that there were individuals inside the vehicle, so they backed out and let the uniform cars make the approach, which is the tactically sound decision to do. The cars are positioned the way the officers are trained. We are trained to use our vehicles as cover from any threat. That's what those officers did with the cars at that time. This is body-worn camera from officer number 2. Go ahead, Bobby.
He's got a gun. He's got a gun on your right. On your right.
Nigga, let me see the fucking, what the fuck? Let us see it.
So just to give you an idea, we have the 2 uniformed cars, we have 2 officers, there's 4 individuals in the stolen vehicle. All 4 individuals get out and start running, some in different directions. So officers decide which individual they're going to pursue. One officer decides to pursue the individual who we now know had a firearm in his hand. The other officer pursued another.
Okay, well, the only thing I will say, before they were saying allegedly had a firearm, now it's sounding like he 100% did. So, okay.
Occupant that fled from the vehicle, and that'll be significant here in a moment when you see.
Can we see?
So this is a still image. Again, I'm going to step out front. The car is parked over this way, okay? They are chasing the individual. So officer number 1 is chasing this guy right here. Okay, this is the guy we ultimately end up shooting. The other officer, who actually fires the shot on this individual, is chasing a different individual further out this way.
Oh, damn, so they were shooting, missed, and shot again.
Direction. Okay, as this officer is chasing him, he sees a firearm in his hand, and he yells, "Gun, gun, he's got a gun." This individual slips, trips, whatever, falls on the concrete right here. Other officers that were also there say in their interview, they heard the firearm hit the concrete. They heard the metal from the firearm hit the concrete. This individual gets up, still has the firearm in his hand, and continues to run through the dumpsters. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Oh my God, let us see. Please.
So these are some still photos. This is the officer who originally saw him with the firearm in his hand, calling it out. He runs through the dumpsters. This officer knows that there's another officer here that is going to ultimately encounter him when he comes through the dumpsters. So he makes him aware of that. He shouts out to him, "On your right, on your right." He's on your right. And that's where this individual comes out from between the dumpsters.
Oh my God, they are blue balling the fuck out of us right now. Let us see some shit.
This is the other officer, the one who fires the shot. This is his body camera as he approaches the scene.
We don't want to look at you, lady.
Get fucked up.
This is the
How are
firearm
we supposed to make a good judgment call if we can't even see shit, bro?
that was recovered at the scene after the individual was shot. This is what he had in his hand while the officers were chasing him.
So he did have a gun,
It's just a photo of it here at
and it was loaded.
Criminalistics. Remember I told you he fell on the concrete and the officer said that they heard the metal hit the ground? There are 3 spots on here where this gun has scratches on it. We believe those occurred when he hit the ground with the firearm.
What type of firearm is that,
Interesting.
Chief?
Semi-automatic. I don't know the make and model.
I will say off rip, man. I mean, fuck. I wish we would have got to seen it because, like I explained earlier, there's literal laws in some states. I know it's a little bit different, so don't 100% quote me, but I do know, even in a self-defense scenario, if you start shooting a motherfucker while they are running away from you, you will go to jail for that. You will go to jail for that. So, You know, again, we didn't get to see what position he was in and if he was running away. I heard some wording that said he was fleeing, and that's where it's like, nah, that's fucked up. You know, I know he was armed, but he was fleeing. He didn't shoot at you, bro. So in that case, you know, and I will say though, so I've said it before in other videos, I don't envy these officers, man, because, you know, there's obviously some assholes out there, and then there's obviously officers that genuinely just want to do their job and, you know, uphold the law. But when your life feels in danger, and we're not in those scenarios, like, I mean, God damn it, I'll do it to anybody that's threatening my life. You know what I'm saying? So I can only imagine when you in a hot situation and you literally see a nigga with that shit on him. You know, but I'm gonna go ahead and put an early prediction that, you know, it's probably not that justified what the father did. He crashed out. His son is clearly here holding that heat, robbing cars, doing some YN shit. You know, he's probably, yeah, the dad probably crashed out, man.
This is a second. Sorry, Bobby, can you go back one frame, please? This magazine was in the firearm. That's an extended magazine, so it holds more rounds.
Got the extended dick.
This is a second magazine that was located in his sweatshirt pocket, his jacket pocket.
Yeah. So he was packing, bro. Damn. Pause.
This is another firearm that was located inside the stolen vehicle. This is a firearm that was also stolen out of northern Kentucky sometime yesterday, early yesterday morning. Approximately.
So they was moving, bro. They was on bullshit,
based
bro.
on timelines. This was stolen from a vehicle in northern Kentucky, and then they went on to steal the vehicle that's involved in the incident. So because we are still attempting to 100% verify the individual's identity, the individual who we shot, we're going to list him as John Doe until we can 100% verify that for you. The other three individuals that were in the car all ran. This was an extensive search for these individuals. I don't know if anybody's familiar with 2500 Warsaw. It is steep terrain, both directions from that parking lot, heavily wooded.
Smiling.
They ran into that area in different directions, and we happen to have as hours of the day that we had.
2006, dude. Well, I guess they already said, bro, the other dude was 18. This guy's 19, bro. This YN should be so fucking stupid, bro. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but I promise y'all, man, there's too much money out here. There's too much real hustles that y'all can do to get to that real legal money, bro. For y'all to be running around and wasting y'all lives like this, bro. This is sad, bro. Fuck.
Several canines available and our drone operators available. So we deployed both of those, got some assistance from community members who were calling us, and we ultimately apprehended this gentleman as well as this gentleman. We still have another person we're looking for. We are attempting to positively identify him, and we'll continue to search for him. As you know, per Marcy's law, we're not going to reveal the officers' names, the officers who were involved, but here is their information. Been on almost 11 years, fugitive apprehension. Been on almost 24 years, fugitive apprehension. This is the scene afterwards. I want to point out this incident, from the time they bailed from the vehicle and police were chasing them to the time the individual was shot, 6 seconds. 6 quick seconds. But the officer's responsibility didn't end there. They did very admirably trying to save this gentleman's life by administering different variations of medical aid until the fire department responded. And this is the, you can see the medical debris, and then this is where the firearm was. Okay, we'll take a few questions.
The suspect, it was very difficult to see, really shows how volatile the situation is. But it was difficult for us to see if the suspect pointed his gun at the officer or whether he just had a gun and was shot because he had a gun. Can you tell why
that makes a
the
difference.
officer shot the suspect?
Yeah. So just to kind of give you a frame of reference, the individual is running with a firearm in his hand. The officer is running, so the body camera is kind of jolting as the officer's running. What that leaves us with is a very blurred image, unfortunately. However, based on the officer's interviews, the officer who did discharge his firearm
You're just supposed to take his word for it, huh?
said that when the individual came out between the dumpsters, he had the firearm in front of him. It was in like a bladed position, and it was pointed at the officer. And he felt threatened for his life, and that's why he discharged his firearm.
How many times did the officer discharge firearm?
We believe 4 or 5.
And hit him?
We believe twice. And I do want to clear up, based on information that we received, the individual was struck in the chest. It exited out the back. He was struck in the arm. We believe it went through his arm and into his side. So those were the 2 rounds that hit him.
There was no indication that he fired his gun.
Correct. No indication. But I would like to add a caveat. We do not expect the officers to wait until they're fired upon before they feel the necessity to fire.
Yeah, man, you know, I mean, again, if my life was threatened, I don't even got to be an officer. If my life feels threatened and I got my shit, I'm protecting myself, bro. But you know, just because, but we see these patterns too often for it to be like me just take that nigga's word for it. I don't know, man. I really don't know what to say on this one. Y'all let me know what y'all think, bro. Y'all think this shit was justified? I really just want to kind of get to what the father had to say now, if he says anything at all.
For how many times an officer, when someone else is pointing a gun at them, how many times an officer should fire upon this?
They are trained to stop the threat.
So there's no standard number of times to shoot?
No. No. Until they feel their life is no longer in danger.
So I'm going to go back to the original question. So, Chief, would it be standard protocol to shoot a suspect if they are armed with a handgun and running if the firearm were not threatening the officer directly?
Yeah. So this is where we have to go to the state of mind of the officer at the time. What are they seeing, feeling, hearing? If they feel like their life or somebody else's life is in danger, they have a responsibility to stop that threat. So I can't answer how every situation should be resolved. It's based on the officers, and some of that includes their training, their experience, their tenure, things like that.
So the officer says that he saw the suspect point the firearm at him.
Yes.
Does the video and or other officer testimony back that up?
I'm not going to get into that now. You saw the video. This is what we have to work with. Because it is an ongoing investigation, I'm not going to get that far into details right now.
Chief, can you speak to what alerted officers to the stolen vehicle at this apartment complex? I know that's why they responded initially. Can you say what prompted that response?
Yes, so this is a stolen vehicle out of Edgewood, Kentucky, yesterday morning, and it has GPS capability. So the owner of the vehicle notified us, as well as they called 911, but that, because they were in Northern Kentucky, that call went to Northern Kentucky. So it was the vehicle owner's capability to track it via GPS.
And do you know any of the, I know we haven't identified the man who was killed, but do we have any indication as whether the other suspects had a connection to this apartment complex specifically, or why they were there?
Yeah, we do not have any indication right now as to whether or not they have connection to that complex. It seemed to be quite a quiet, nice complex.
You found 2 handguns. One of them you said was stolen at approximately the same time the car was stolen. How about the other one?
So we believe the firearm that was stolen approximately 6:30 a.m. yesterday morning somewhere in northern Kentucky. The vehicle, we believe, was stolen maybe a couple hours later, again in northern Kentucky, but that's all we know.
Which of the firearms was the stolen firearm?
The one that was left in the car, not the one that the deceased had.
Do we know the origin of the one that the deceased had?
Not yet. We still have our investigators working on that.
Chief, do you have
Interesting.
any update on the search for the 4th suspect?
There you are. We do. We're working, like I said, to identify him, and we will use whatever resources we need to try to locate him.
Can you talk about how the 2 suspects were apprehended, where they were apprehended, and what that?
Yeah, so they're quite agile. They covered a lot of ground. Like I said, it's heavily wooded, and it's quite a terrain, hilly terrain. One of them I know made their way up towards the summit area, still in East Price Hill. They were all still in Price Hill, but I don't know the exact addresses where they were apprehended. We used a lot of resources.
What do you know?
Them.
You don't know shit.
So the fact is that there have been 6 officer-involved shootings, 4 fatal in the last 6 weeks. Not your department.
Now that feels like a pattern. What the fuck is that about? Where is this taking place? Cincinnati?
Right.
Obviously. Do you have any thoughts on that? I think that the media coverage of this and therefore the public perception of it is, wow, there have been a lot of officer-involved shootings lately.
Yeah, so I can't speak to the ones that occurred outside of the city limits. My message would just be, unfortunately, this is a potential outcome when you interact with police and you are armed with a weapon, whether it's an edged weapon, a firearm, or if you fail to comply, you're armed and you fail to comply with what an officer says. This is where we end up, and it is unfortunate. It is preventable, and no officer wants to go through this. I don't want families to go through this, but at the end of the day, we have to provide the safest city that we can provide.
Last question.
The officers knew before rounding that dumpster that he was armed, because the other officer had yelled out, and also he had fallen in front of the dumpster. You'd heard they'd heard the weapon. Was there any other option, like when they realized he was armed, than going around the side of the dumpster to confront and chase down the suspect, knowing he was armed? Like, I mean, it wasn't like he was running into a crowd of people. It was
For that particular question, I feel like the only thing you're potentially alluding to is just letting them go. And maybe that's a thing. But, I mean, if their whole operation was to stop these guys and potentially arrest them for allegedly stealing a vehicle, I guess I don't think that would be the option, but hey.
Okay. All right. If you recall what I said, though, that officer who fired was actually chasing a different suspect when he encountered the individual armed with a firearm. And again, total 6 seconds. So for them to process and determine a different course of action, I think is unreasonable.
Chief, that's 6 seconds from apprehension to the shots being fired off?
I'm sorry?
That's 6 seconds from the apprehension to the shots being
No, 6 seconds from the time they pulled up and the people jumped out of the car to the time that he was shot.
This is it. You said there was a magazine in the weapon. The picture showed a round above the weapon. Was there a round in the chamber as well?
Yeah, that is normally how our criminalistics will process it. If there's one in the chamber, they will take it out, and then they will also display rounds that were in the magazine.
So there was a round found in the chamber then?
I would have to ask the investigators for confirmation of that, but I believe so.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Update on an incident that you're aware of, I'm sure, happened earlier this afternoon, approximately 1 p.m.
We had an auto accident at Martin Luther King, Burnett Woods Drive, where a Hamilton County deputy was struck. He was outside his vehicle conducting traffic enforcement. He was struck by a vehicle.
What I do think is crazy is, and I could be wrong, we're going to find out, but I think the dad went and just struck a random officer. I don't think he even got the guy. He just said, man, fuck all y'all, and I'm taking one. That's pretty crazy. And I think that's, you know, again, I don't want to sound like the guy, but that nigga might have crashed, bro. He crashed bad. I don't think that's how he should have handled that. But I could be wrong. But even if he did get the guy, the bigger question is, why are all of our young black men doing this bullshit, bro? Shouldn't he, like, we've seen black men get killed by cops for being completely innocent and not doing anything wrong. And that's even worse, you know? Because you doing the right thing, you doing what you're supposed to be doing, you an upstanding citizen, and you still got. But this isn't that situation. And it's just like, we got to figure out how to inspire the youth to just not be on this bullshit, bro. But like I said, you know, it's easier said than done, man. I don't know the kid's situation. I don't know his background. I don't know his struggles. And sometimes it does feel, you know, depending on your come up, what other option do you got? Ain't nobody looking out for you. Ain't nobody giving you the benefit of the doubt. You know, they looking at our skin color, and we got the disadvantage by birth. So, but it's still like, because I don't have that mentality, it's not an excuse, you know? Against all the odds, we're still free people. We still have, you know, we live in the internet era. I can learn anything off of YouTube. I can learn how to goddamn build a spaceship off of YouTube. I wouldn't be surprised, you know, on some crazy shit. So it's like, all the opportunity is there, man, and it just sucks, bro. It just sucks. It's hard to talk about this stuff because there's so many sides, there's so many angles, there's so many variables. But one thing's for sure, it's fucked up.
It saddens me tremendously to make you aware that he has since passed. I think what is significant for people to know about this accident is the officer was just out doing his job, directing traffic up near the University of Cincinnati for what was supposed to be a glorious day for many. What is significant also to know about this auto accident, as you know, we had a critical incident yesterday in the city of Cincinnati, an officer-involved shooting at approximately 9 a.m. yesterday morning. There is a connection between these two incidents. The driver of today's vehicle that struck a deputy has a family relationship with the 18-year-old that we shot yesterday.
No bond hearing, yes. So like we're asking that you hold it with no bond right now until the hearing on the 6th, to when we will present evidence in order to satisfy the burden of the 2937-222. We're going to be asking to hold the bond at that point.
So you all will review those statutes. The rules of evidence won't apply in that hearing.
Yes, sir.
Trying to get a read on his body language.
So the court will now set no bond until Tuesday, when we'll review the statute for a continuing no bond under these unusual and very tragic and terrible circumstances. Where will the defendant be housed, and will he be safe? And I ask that because he was transferred, as I understand it, to Clermont County yesterday on my order.
That's correct.
And will he be returned to Clermont County until Tuesday?
It's our understanding he will be returned to Clermont County.
And you have a safe environment for him there in Clermont County?
Yes, sir.
You'll return him on Tuesday, May the 6th at
I gotta say though, I mean, regardless of what his body language is saying or not saying right now, he had to have known when he did this that it was over with. He was like, this was a self-delete mission, whether he survived it or not, because if you survive, you spend the rest of your life in jail. And, you know, they say the biggest gang in America is the cops themselves. So you took one of theirs, it's ugly for you, bro. It's ugly. It's ugly. Them niggas, they gonna send you to the shadow realm of the cops and they gonna do you dirt. I ain't gonna lie. Or on the flip side, they find some reason to end your ass right there and there on the scene. Look at Buddy right here. He's got all the vengeance ready to blow right now. He is waiting to get him out on a bathroom break. Yeah, man. Bro is cooked.
8:30 a.m. for a hearing at 9 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, for the record, we'd ask the court to put a bond on him now, but we understand that it's not a bond period.
All right, no bond. Thank you. Well, we can hold him at no bond for 72 hours, is that right?
That's correct.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much.
Rodney Hinton Jr. appearing to show no remorse for that alleged attack. As he was being escorted out of the courtroom, he appeared to shout at deputies he's going to be gone forever, though it's unclear if he's referring to the deputy that he's accused of killing or his son, who was killed by a Cincinnati police officer on Thursday. Here's what we learned from court earlier this morning after that tense appearance, surrounded by dozens of deputies inside and outside the courtroom. We're learning more details from the Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office about what's now being called a deliberate attack. Prosecutors say witnesses watched Hinton stop his car outside of graduation ceremonies for students at the University of Cincinnati, then ram the recently retired deputy who was outside his vehicle conducting traffic, ultimately.
Yeah. Look at him. He's like, nigga, fuck all you niggas. Don't give a fuck what got going on. I don't give a fuck, nigga. Yeah, he does not care. He went on that mission, boy. He said, I don't care what the end result is. I'm taking one back.
Ending his life. The defense explained that this has been an emotionally charged week for Hinton after his son was killed by that Cincinnati police officer on Thursday. Meanwhile, Hinton is going to be held at the Claremont County Jail by the judge's order for his safety until a no bond appearance is set to determine whether or not he'll be held as that judicial process plays out.
Police say he...
Very unfortunate situation.
What?
Rodney, rest in peace. And to that officer, rest in peace. And love and condolences to you guys' families. We send 11 prayers y'all way, and whoever else was affected by the story we just talked about. I'm not here to blame, I'm just here to present the facts. But God knows I can't fathom losing my son. And I'm sure as many others that's listening to this story can agree with me. So none of us truly know how we will react.
Yeah, and there's that. You know, that's the God honest truth, man. Good, bad, evil. You take my son from me. Shit. You know, there's right and wrong, but then there's just fuck that. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a very touchy situation, but more important than that, you know, prayers to the family, like bro said. That is really there's no winners in this. Nobody wins. You know. Everybody loses. So prayers up to the fam, man. This is a sad one for sure.
Praying for everyone in this story. It's time for you guys to talk to me in the comments. Fam, this was the story of a Cincinnati man who took matters into his own hands by taking the life of an officer after his son was killed less than 24 hours prior by the hands of an officer. Let me know how you feel in the comments.
Especially that officer, man. That officer, he had nothing to do with the case. So that's what makes it even worse, honestly. He didn't even get the man that did it. He just said, fuck it, I'm taking one of y'all's. I don't care. The guy was a retired officer, so I think I'm going to hold judgment on this one, man. You know, not everything is that black and white. I'm going to hold judgment, but y'all let me know what y'all think, bro. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Right, wrong, indifferent, and most importantly, definitely send a prayer up. You know, maybe let's throw some prayer emojis in the comments just so we can visually represent. But more importantly, go actually get it done and, you know, hold your loved ones close, man. Pay attention to your loved ones. If you're a parent, pay attention to what your kids are getting involved in, man. At the end of the day, I think it starts there, you know. We can't shield our kids from everything. And I don't have kids, so maybe it's, you know, maybe the right message but wrong messenger. But you know, if our kids aren't out doing bullshit like this, there's a lot less likely chance of them ending up in bullshit like this, you know. But when God decides to pull your card, you know, we can't argue with the man above. So I'll leave y'all with that. I'm curious to hear y'all feedback. Another serious one. I love y'all. Binge the rest of the videos on the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Where you at,
BERTO?